And so just so everyone knows that I am recording at this time, and hopefully there's no objections to me recording, and I can post this at a later point of time to the group or to my channel. But I just really wanted to have this opportunity to connect with people. Of course, we're going through this very unique period of time in history. And I thought, what a better time than to do some spiritual practices. And so this is the reason why I've offered this class. Just to familiarize everyone with the Zoom, in case they're not familiar with it. There is a chat box at the bottom there that they can write a comment, or there's a raise your hand option also, so that if I don't see your comment, you have the ability to be able to ask some questions. And so I do want this to be interactive. I do want everyone to feel comfortable in asking questions. And we're going to have some practice too. So I'm actually really looking forward to some of the questions that we're going to be working on to practice on. And I'm hoping that everyone finds this, at the very least, fun and entertaining, and perhaps put their mind on some different things in the world right now than what's been occurring. So I hope, as that this is a class on automatic writing, that everyone has a pen and paper handy. Okay, I know that that should be a sort of a natural thing to think about, but in case you've come without a pen and paper, just please do get one, and ideally have a pen that really works sort of smoothly. Some pens are better than others, so try to have one that flows naturally. I do like to say that with spiritual practices going forward, it's best to have a pen that you will use solely for automatic writing. Because if you have, once you take this class, I'm going to encourage you to practice it, and hopefully it'll be something that you feel inclined to doing more. And of course, practice makes perfect. But it's nice to be able to have items that we set aside for what's not part of our mundane daily activities. Because when we have something, a special item that we use only in our spiritual practices, and once we connect with it, it kind of allows us to make that shift in consciousness already. At least this is my experience. And so I will ask you to just going forward to try to get a pen that you will set aside just for your spiritual work, for automatic writing. Now, some of you may have tried automatic writing in the past, and some of you may be brand new to it. And so I just want to see by a show of hands, how many of you have tried automatic writing in the past? Okay, cool. Well, I see a hand up there. So if there's two hands up, so I don't know if someone wants to ask a question. Oh, so, okay, so you're saying yes, hands up to my question. So thank you, awesome. Just took me a moment to connect with that. And how many have had good results with their automatic writing? How many do you feel that you're confident with your automatic writing? Good, I saw one hand go up. Good, awesome. Good, awesome, excellent. Automatic writing, like any of our spiritual work, really it needs to be worked on. It needs to be practiced in order for us to have confidence with it. And part of that is because really we're learning how to set aside our conscious mind, and it's in automatic writing is a form of mediumship, which a little bit of history about myself, and I do like to share this if you ever had a class with me in the past, is that automatic writing is one of the first things that I ever did with respect to mediumship. I didn't quite recognize it as mediumship, but I was actually just like in high school, like in grade 10, I believe, when I started doing automatic writing. And it was just something that I discovered that I could do, in part because I was playing with the Ouija board at the time, which I don't recommend. This automatic writing is a more reliable form of spirit communication than a Ouija board. But how it had evolved for me is that I wasn't a very good student. And so in class, instead of paying attention, I would write out a little tiny Ouija board on my notebook and had a little tiny piece of paper. And I would use that as the planchette for the letters. And then I started using my pen as the planchette to go to the letters. And then it just evolved to being able to write. And so for me, it was just a natural evolution. But it was cool for me because I got a lot of information from learning how to automatic write. In particular, it helped me with some exams because I would use it to get the right answers, particularly like on the multiple choice questions. So that's me in a nutshell. Now, I admit that for many years I left automatic writing behind. I worked with developing other pursuits. I was working primarily just with learning how to read psychically and working with my mediumship without any sort of tools. And so I sort of put that aside, and I had perhaps lost the importance or the relevance of it as a really good tool to be able to use. Whenever we learn how to grow our spiritual gifts, we are also opening up the psychic windows to the world of spirit. And we're opening up channels within ourselves to be able to receive. And so when we are opening up these channels, we're actually taking responsibility for the worlds that we're able to shape. So our physical world, we're able to shape better just by tapping into our divine birthright that just has a great potential for all of us. And with understanding how to use automatic writing, we have the ability to receive guidance all the time. And so meaning that we have this ability to tap into our higher self and receive guidance, and to be able to do it in a manner that's, not just through meditation, which primarily works with symbols and imagery. So we're actually able to get either words or sentences, or it may even be like a complete essay type form. So we're able to bring through a lot more information. So we're able to tap into our higher self, as I was saying. We can connect with our guides through this way. And it is said that we can also connect with other non-entities or non-incarnated entities, so whether it be angels or other higher beings. And for me, I feel what is the most significant for our own spiritual development is that we're able to connect with our higher self. I believe that for me, I think that that's the best thing that I would encourage you to work with, is to connect with your higher self. But we're going to do an exercise to be able to distinguish a couple of different things. So the higher self and connecting with spirit guides. And so I'm just going to go over, I've got some notes here that I'm just to be able to work from, so that I can just go over some history about automatic writing and some other points that I want to bring forward before we actually work with some of the exercises to be able to do that. And I am going to stop and ask if there are any questions as we go along. And please, if you do have a question and it's not been a point where I've stopped, please do raise your hand or put something in the chat. And I really want everyone to be able to be comfortable with what we're doing and just to enjoy themselves throughout this process. Okay. Did I say have water? I see some people drinking there, so I hope that everyone has water available. I see Colleen drinking, and Ali says, yes, awesome, awesome. And Gail says, yes, good stuff. And so I do always encourage whenever we do spiritual work to ensure that we're well hydrated, for those of you that may not understand why, because water is a conductor of energy. And when we're working with spirit, no matter what form it is, we're opening up these channels, and we're bringing through a greater amount of energy within our body, and the water will just allow to have that better conduction, and it will prevent any kind of issues with dehydration, which we can actually experience if we're not properly hydrating. And I want to go over any questions or concerns as we're doing this, and because with anything, oftentimes people have some genuine concerns. So what is automatic writing? Right off the top, I want to talk about what is that, and what is the difference between automatic writing and inspirational writing. So automatic writing is the art or ability of contacting other intelligence through the use of a pen or pencil, of course, on paper, while we're in an altered or meditative state of consciousness. And I'm going to be talking more about the altered states a little bit farther on. And so when we wish to be able to use this particular form of spirit communication, we're going to learn how to slow our brain waves down to get into that desired altered state, to be able to clear our minds, and just to be able to allow ourselves to be that channel. I will often speak about being a clear channel for communications from our own higher self or from other entities. Now, it's called automatic writing because that's how it feels. It feels automatic. You're actually plugging into the energy of something, of another entity that you're communicating with. And as we are doing this, oftentimes we're unaware of the writing that is occurring while it's being written until it's all over and then you read it. Sometimes our hand actually moves like it's just like it's no longer part of our body. Sometimes there may be a feeling of tingling or numbness as this is occurring, as if someone has actually taken it over. Now, the difference between automatic writing and inspirational writing is that inspirational writing is we haven't sort of given over ourselves to the lending of our hand, so to speak, to another entity or being. But what we've done is that we focused on a particular topic that we wish to write on, and inspiration is still of spirit. So anytime we have inspiration that is being actually inspired from spiritual beings, from higher beings oftentimes, although it may be from our higher self. And however, we're completely conscious and aware of what is occurring. And so there's just that little bit of a slight difference. Inspirational writing can sometimes be the precursor to automatic writing. if you are working to get automatic writing, but you're feeling that maybe you just haven't quite mastered it yet. However, you can inspirational write, or you may find that you're doing that you can do both. Many writers are actually do write from inspiration. They'll talk about just having the words flow to them, and as I was saying, inspirational writing, for instance, if you wanted to write on a particular topic, let's say the herbal benefits of teas, and then maybe you're wanting to understand some of these herbal benefits of teas, and I just selected that topic as an example because I was reading up on some teas prior to coming. But then suddenly, as you're focusing on that, you feel guided to write specific words or specific sentences, and some things are clicking in a way that you didn't understand previously, and you are just having this information flow from you. So anytime you are doing writing and it's not coming from what you have already learned, so it's not coming from your conscious logical mind, that's inspirational writing. We don't always call it that or understand it to be that, but now you have that in your toolbox to understand what inspirational writing is. And so the history of automatic writing, and I've just made some notes here, is that the history is that, yes, here's my notes here, is that it came from, it started back in centuries that, I'm sorry, guys, here we are. It wasn't until the late 19th century that it became more predominant. And the reason for that is, and I just wanted to get my centuries correct, is that the reason for that is that the average home didn't have pens and papers in the household. It was actually considered a luxury. And so automatic writing is actually a relatively new phenomenon. And the other part to that is because people weren't really literate, didn't have much literacy in earlier centuries. So it's young compared to things like tarot or the cartouche, which are all symbolic and work on intuitive forms like that. So work on symbolic and imagery. So automatic writing is actually very, very young. There is some evidence that automatic writing was used by royalty, in particular by Queen Elizabeth I, and you can understand in part is that they would have access to these equipment, pen and paper. But there has always been a fascination of the occult with royalty. If you look at the practices of royalty, they've always had oracles, they've used astrologers, they have had the use of psychics, and that was very, very common for European monarchies to have these sort of tools to be able to access. And so it's not known if during all of the European monarchies that they used automatic writing, but certainly there was always this fascination with the occult. And these are the ones that first sort of used automatic writing to get information. And so it wasn't until the mid-19th century when the spiritualist movement grew that automatic writing became much more popular. And unfortunately, what happened with the spiritualist movement is that there were fraudulents and charlatans and other con artists that they received a lot of negative attention. And because of this, there was even an official investigation by Congress, which looked into these cases, and it didn't differentiate between authentic spirit communication and the fake stage illusions. Okay, so there was just a lot of unscrupulous people that would put up these sort of statements in order to be able to look like they're having spirit communication. And we can see this throughout spiritualism in the last century. And so this is actually where we get the old Witchcraft Act, and it made these practices unlawful. So it was in 1855 that there was actually a French magistrate, and his name was Alec Revel. And he started a field of psychic research, and he visited this home of this family called the Baudin sisters at their father's request, because they would have this automatic writing. And they demonstrated a certain amount of knowledge about sciences and technical questions, which they would have had no prior knowledge of. And so he was able to really substantiate a lot of the authenticity of automatic writing. And interestingly enough, Sherlock Holmes, the author of Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he used automatic writing, as did his wife. And they used this to communicate with their son, who was killed in World War I. And so he was one of the first documented cases that was authentic for using automatic writing. Unfortunately, automatic writing fell into more discredit in the United States during the 1920s, and Congress investigated there and found that there was just very many frauds, and it really deteriorated the legitimacy of automatic writing. Automatic writing, it can be used to receive guidance and advice from your own higher self or other discarnate beings. And with any spiritual practices, it should not be used for entertainment purposes. And I say this because whenever we use our spiritual gifts for entertainment practices, we used to call them parlor games. Whenever we use it in this manner, it really sort of sullies what is the gift of it. And it's thought that by not honoring it and not holding it in high regard, that we will actually possibly deteriorate what we're receiving, deteriorate the quality of what we're receiving. So there is a general thought of how automatic writing works. Although there is no one really knows for sure, and that's just how I will present that. But it's thought that what happens is that we're merging our own consciousness with the collective unconsciousness. So that's our higher self, or it may also be called or referred to as the super consciousness. And when we access the super consciousness, we are able to access information within that energy field. So we actually have the ability to tap into the energy field and to be able to get information on whatever it is that we're focusing on. As I said before, we can also contact energy, the discarnate energies of other entities. Okay, now the thing to know is that when we're contacting other discarnate entities, they may not be knowledgeable on some particular topics. Okay, so when we set our intention to be able to contact a particular entity, just know that they may not have all the answers for you, and even our own spirit guides may not have all the information for you, or our spirit guides may not always want to share some particular information if they feel that you need to be able to have your own learning in a particular area. Okay, meaning that there's a karmic lesson set up for you so that you have that own learning yourself. And so they may not always ask or tell you rather some particular things that you're seeking. And so for this reason, I feel that it's better to intentionally connect with your higher self. But we're going to just do a little bit of an exercise working with that. So are there any questions so far about this with what I've covered? No? Okay, good. So with entering this meditative state, it's important to be able to use some breath work in order to be able to access this altered state. This breath work allows us to have this consciousness so that we're able to enter into this, it's a light trance-like state. So as I was saying, sometimes there may not even be an awareness of what you're writing. Sometimes as it's flowing through, there is some awareness of what you're writing as the words are coming, but it will just feel like the pen has a mind of its own. And so learning how to meditate or focus the attention is very helpful in learning how to do automatic writing. And it's no different than with psychic development or any sort of mediumship development, in that we don't want our ego or our conscious mind intruding into our writings. And that's the reason for that. Because with any spiritual practice, it's important to know when the ego has stepped in, or when we've lost our focus or our concentration on something. Okay, so just understanding to do some nice relaxed breathing, as we're just going to work with doing some breath work to get into this altered state. And so by doing some nice abdominal breaths, and if everyone's not sure what an abdominal breath is, we're going to try and sit up as tall as we can, and just allowing ourselves to become relaxed. And by taking some nice deep breaths in through the nose, we're preparing ourselves to make that shift into this relaxed trance-like state. So in through your nose, nice deep breathing. And when we do abdominal breaths, we want our abdomen to extend out with the breath, so letting it flow out like a balloon. And it contracts as we are exhaling. And as we're doing this, this actually starts to slow down the brain waves. We're slowing down our brain waves. And at this time, we're going to focus on a particular geometric shape. And what this is just going to do is going to help us with our concentration. So in your mind's eye, just focus on a simple geometric shape to hold your concentration. This may be a circle or a square. If you're more auditory, you can use a simple one syllable word to focus on. And as we are allowing ourselves to get nice and relaxed, which focuses our intention on a particular, and focusing our attention on a particular object, that some geometric symbol, we're going to be working on balancing our chakras. And the reason why we do this is because this allows us to bring in more key force energy, or chi energy. And so by maintaining this nice relaxed breathing, it's going to bring our awareness to our crown chakra. And visualizing our crown chakra as this violet, beautiful violet-like flower opening up. And as we balance this chakra out, we're just looking for any blockages within there. And as we turn our attention to this chakra, we are opening it up and we're starting to pull in more key force energy. And we're actually stimulating them and clearing them. And moving down to your brow chakra, your third eye. And seeing that as a beautiful indigo color and opening that up. And looking for any areas of darkness. Allowing that to open up and clear. Moving down to your throat chakra. And opening that up and seeing this turn a beautiful turquoise color. Allowing that to grow widely and expanding. Moving down to your heart chakra. And having that open up and infusing it with a beautiful emerald color. And moving down to your solar plexus. The solar plexus can be stress-filled. We have a lot of stress in our lives, so just take your time to clear this. Opening that up. And moving down to your sacral chakra. And seeing that as a beautiful crimson orange. Opening that up, looking for any areas of darkness within there. Clearing that. moving down to your root chakra and seeing that open up, seeing a beautiful ruby red. And so from there, we're going to work with putting our pen to paper. And it can be a little bit challenging to move from a meditative state to actually doing something physical, but just working again with your breath. And at this time, just visualizing your higher self existing right above your crown chakra. And putting your pen to paper. Just asking your higher self to come down. And at this time, just focusing on a particular question that you would like to focus on. Placing your pen to paper. Now, if at first your pen doesn't move, that's okay. If the words are coming to your mind first and you feel compelled to write them, that's okay. Just visualize drawing down the energy from the collective unconsciousness, from your higher self, and feeling that energy and bringing down all of this energy down through your crown chakra and seeing it as this beam of light, a beam of energy connecting with you, and allowing this beam of energy to flow down through your crown and feeling this power that comes with it, this energy that comes with it. And just focus on your question. You visualize this energy coming down through your arm, just holding your arm loosely over your paper. And just allowing this energy to flow through into your writing hand, into your hands. See it as like a telephone wire from your higher self into your hand. And so let's focus on a question. I'm going to give you a question to see if you can receive on. And the question is going to be, what do I need to do for my spiritual development at this time? Now, the next question I'd like you to work on, to focus on, is what blocks is currently holding me back at this present time? The next question I'd like you to focus on, who in my life now have I had the most significant karmic past with? By that I mean past life. Who in my life now have I had the most significant past life with? I'm going to ask one more question for you to focus on. What is my greatest spiritual strength? Okay, and I just want to give everyone the opportunity to be able to share with what they've what they've been able to bring through, or maybe not everyone, but I'll connect with a few people. Just want to see who was able to receive something at this time. Who was able to receive some words, some sentences? Who was able to feel some tingling? Gail says yes. Melanie said yes. Ali, is that a yes? Yeah, okay, awesome, good. Anyone else? Okay, Beverly, good. Carrie Ann, yes, okay. Did anyone have a good flow coming from their pen? Have good flow, yeah, okay, awesome. Okay. Was there anyone that felt the words coming to their mind, but the pen didn't want to move? Did anyone experience that? Or was the pen moving first? Is really what I want to sort of determine. Does everyone understand the difference of what I'm asking? Did the pen move on its own? Or was there the words come into your mind first? You can come off if you want to speak. Melanie, what did you get there, dear? I'm going to call on you just as an example, just to be able to share. I hope you don't mind. Yeah, you want to come off mute?
Oh, hi, Lorraine. How are you?
I'm welcome,
Oh,
son.
good. Well, I've done this before, so I was able to fall into it pretty quickly.
Awesome.
And the method I use is with my non-dominant hand.
Okay.
So my dominant hand, I wrote down the question. There was a question that I had and received the answer, and then you started asking questions, and I was able to get answers to 2 of those.
Okay.
And it makes it harder to read because it's my non-dominant hand, but it comes through. I believe it feels more authentic. I think when you're first starting out doing this, it's like you're just writing and writing and writing, and you don't really trust yourself. And I found that switching to my non-dominant hand, it feels like it's coming through a different channel.
That is key. That's a good thing to bring up, is that this is what I was talking about earlier about it's the trust. And it's hard for us to be able to trust that we're bringing through. And so when we use our non-dominant hand, it just, because we don't feel as connected with it,
Mm.
it may start to flow through a little bit easier. And like you're saying, it's that trust thing, because it's our non-dominant. What it is, it brings us into a little bit more of that imaginative state, and allows us to shift from our conscious mind more into being more receptive. And so there is a trick that some of you may choose to do, is to try your non-dominant hand to see if that works better. If you're having any challenges with getting a flow. Now, with the flow, with it comes, sometimes we may want to override it with our conscious mind. And so it's flowing, particularly if we know, sometimes we may know what the word is going to be as it's coming. And then we may want to override that with our conscious mind. And it's important to know the feeling when our conscious mind has stepped in and wants to override. So did anyone have any difficulty with having the pen move or receiving some kind of words? I think, Carrie Ann, I think you said that that you felt the words coming first. I think that's what Carrie Ann said, that she felt the words coming first, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly okay, and that's in part because it's coming through our own consciousness. So it's coming down from the higher self through our consciousness, and so we may have an idea of what these words are as they're starting to flow down through us. Now, if we get deeper into this meditative or trance-like state, we may lose all awareness of what is coming through. And that may be something to work on, to getting into that meditative state, so that you're just losing all awareness. And you can work with that just by putting your pen to paper. So let's just try that for a moment. Just placing our pen to paper, and we're going to expand our light out once more, just expanding our light out, pushing out our aura. What we're going to do at this time is actually we're going to call in one of our spirit guides. So pushing out our light, and we're going to call in one of our spirit guides. We're going to give them permission to use our hand. We're going to give them permission, invite them in to use our hand. And just give them permission to write. Now, even if you just get a couple of squiggles, just know that that is progress. You're going to give permission, your guides permission to use your arm to write. And by bringing yourself into that meditative state with your breathing, clearing your mind, and we're not going to allow ourselves to be conscious at all with what is being wrote. We're just going to give our guides permission to use our hand to write. Okay, and just bringing your awareness back at this time. Who was able to have any success with inviting their guide coming in? Good, Beverly. Good. Gail, good. And did you get any words at all or a squiggle? Were you able to receive? Beverly, what did you get?
I got a squiggle.
Good.
I guess one question I have is when you're holding the pen, should you like hold it so light that you're hardly touching it?
I still hold it with a somewhat light grasp, not too tightly, but light, but just lightly. And how I will further describe it to you is if you were just going to allow yourself to do some nice light doodles, that is the amount of grasp that you want to use. So not too firmly, but just nice and light. So Carrie Ann, I saw that you were too freaked out to do this. Now, fear is a really big barrier to being able to automatic write. And so this is just, as I was talking about the ego mind, fear is a big barrier to it. And that's okay. And so you said that's what your guide said, and that's cool that your guide said that. And so if you're working to get anything legible, what I'll encourage you to do, and you can just do this right now, is by putting your pen to paper, just going into some nice wide circles, just doodling a little bit, and just inviting your guides to come and speak with you and write through you. And ask a question that is a yes/no question. And let's just ask a question that you know the answer to begin with. And let's say you may want to ask the question, what is your dog's name, or how old is your dog? Just to give an example, something that you know the answer to, or rather, so say, is my dog's name Binu? And allowing that flow to come to you so you get a yes/no answer, so that you're developing trust with the movement of the pen. Okay? Does everyone understand? So ask a yes/no question of your guides using this sort of squiggly feeling, inviting them to come right through you, and asking them a question that you know the answer to. You can ask them a question that you know the answer is no to. And do both so that you know the feeling. Ask them a question that you know the answer is yes to. And then ask them a question that you know the answer is no to. And that will allow you to become more sensitized to the way the pen is moving when spirit is coming through. Okay, did anyone have any success with that? How did you do with that particular one, Beverly?
I actually did pretty well. I got
Awesome.
the registers. Yeah.
Good. Awesome. How did you do with that one, Colleen?
Good. The yes was yes, and the one that is a no came out no.
Okay, and you were able to feel the difference to that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask a question that we may not know the answer to. Okay, and we're going to, again, and just using those sort of squiggly lines, we're going to maybe ask a question that we would like to know the answer to. We're going to ask our guides to work through us and give them permission to work with us as we expand out our light. Invite them to come closer and work with us. Invite them to come ever so close so that they can use our arm, use our hand to be able to give us information. And ask a question that you do not know the answer to. And allow them to give you the answer. Okay. And how did you do with that one? Were you able to receive anything? Yeah? Gail, you've got a grin on your face.
I got a drawing of a thumbs up on that one. I'm not kidding. It's all scribbly, but you can see
That's
in the
awesome.
drawing. And very not my handwriting. It's a thumbs up and it says purpose. And the question that I asked was, will I be working in hospice soon? Thumbs up, purpose.
So, and that actually brings me to something interesting that I wanted to be able to share, is that to trust what is coming through, because this can be a precursor to spirit art by allowing yourself, your arm to be taken over, to have spirit work through you. And it doesn't have to be just letters or sentences that spirit brings through, but they can write, they may write pictures or draw pictures or symbols, however is the best way for them to communicate through you. So I'm going to say that your guide actually has a little bit of a sense of humor too when they write that thumbs up. But that's a good job, Gail. Well done with that. Does anyone else have any experience that they would like to share with respect to that? Anyone? Were you able to get anything there, Beverly?
Yeah, I twisted my ankle walking in the woods today.
Oh.
And I asked, and I've been icing it all day, and I asked if it would be better, be okay by Wednesday, and I got no. But then I asked, would it be okay by Thursday, and I got yes.
Nice, nice, excellent. And so the significance of learning how to do automatic writing is that we're able to get guidance for things that we may want to have, and we may not want to run to a psychic or a medium or what have you in order to get information. It also could help you in your own psychic readings for others. When you're doing psychic reading for other people, that you can get information. If maybe you're not able to receive it clairvoyantly, or maybe you're not hearing the answer, you can turn to automatic writing to be able to get to use that as a tool to get some clear guidance for clients. Now, with this, I would suggest that you are. I was going to say that I suggest that you use your higher self to connect with that. But Spirit's saying it's okay to use your guides too. Now, the reason why I was going to say to use your higher self in that sort of example was because our guides don't always know the answers to things. And that's why I wanted to be, our higher self is really, because it's connected with divinity, it's our higher self has the ability to be all-knowing, essentially. It's just the only barrier between accessing that information is our conscious mind, which acts as a filter. And so the more that we work to be able to put aside that filter, the more that we're able to get into a receptive state, the more that we're able to bring through. But Spirit said that with seeking psychic guidance for others, you can still use this as a tool, and it can be a very reliable tool also. So someone got, let me just see what this says here. So, Sylvia, you said you got lines back and forth horizontally left to right. But what I really want you to focus on is that you were getting movement with the pen, okay? And just trust that this is something that needs to be developed more in order just to be able to receive. But you got the lines back and forth, and that actually is very, very good, because sometimes people will sit there for a long while and not have the pen move at all. And the reason being with that is, I believe, is that there's just a block there. And the block is either that they're trying too hard, they're focusing too hard. So for the answer for the last question, so Sylvie, for the answer to your last question, you got a line back and forth. And so oftentimes I feel when spirit doesn't answer a question, is just that we're not meant to know that particular answer at the time. And so you can ask spirit, am I not meant to know at this time? Is there a time that I'm going to be able to know the answer to this question? Is this something karmic that I need to learn? But you can go deeper into that, because if you're getting answers and then suddenly you're not getting an answer, it either means that your conscious mind is just acting as a filter so that you're not able to receive, or you're not meant to know that particular answer. And so I'd encourage you to work with that to see what the reasoning is behind that. So Sylvia, just try now, see if you're able to ask us something different around that question. Is there a reason why you're not meant to know this? Or is there a reason you're not meant to know this? Just see if you're able to get some more information regarding this. I'm just coming to that. Okay, so you wrote there's too many things happening in the world now, you think, so that, and which actually brings me to a question that I had wanted to work on just as an exercise. And this may be a little bit challenging, but what I want us to focus on is, I want us to be able to see if we're able to receive. And so I'm going to have you just go into that meditative state and pushing out your light, shifting your consciousness, shifting your awareness with your breath to bring you to the altered state. And asking your guide to step in and giving them permission to work with you. And give them the permission to have the use of your arm, and just visualizing that energy coming down through your arm, through your hand, and using your pen. And as there is a lot of occurrences in the world right now, let's focus on what Spirit has to say about what's happening as a global event. And is there a reason behind it? I'm wanting to see what we're able to receive on that as an exercise. And after you've worked on receiving that, I'd like to be able to work on receiving, when will it dissipate? Okay. And I'm just going to see, was anyone able to receive anything on these areas of topics? Okay. Good. So Elizabeth, I'm going to have you share, please, if you don't mind.
For the purpose, I got perfect. And
Nice.
for the time frame, I got November is what the word looks like. I was hoping it would be April.
Yeah, I was too. Anyone else receive anything regarding those questions? Okay, Sylvie said she felt thoughts come to mind, but no writing. So Sylvie, what thoughts did you have? I'll come to you too, Beverly. Thank you for wanting to share. What thoughts came to your mind? So when we say thoughts, meaning we had something inspirational come to us that we received, we're having a conscious thought implanted within our mind. Sylvie, what did you receive on that? Okay, so peace, love, harmony as for the purpose. Good, nice scale, thank you, awesome. And as to when it might finish, did anyone receive anything regarding that? Was that a year, Gail? Good.
One teeny, it's so not my handwriting. It's so tiny, it's hard to read.
Nice, I love it, good.
And it just says year. Like a year, kind of, I
Yeah.
guess.
Beverly, did you have something you wanted to share with respect to that?
Yes. You know, why did this happen? The reason behind it, that that the confusion and hate in the world built till it became a virus that infected everyone in some way, and
Wow.
that it will run its course and clear air is coming.
Okay. And I actually just got chills down when you said that. What I really want to be able to illustrate is the different words or the different phrasing that is being used to answer these questions. And so this is the differences in our guides. Sort of at the bottom of this, they are saying the similar things, right? They're saying similar things or the same thing in different wording or different phrasing. And this would be the manner that your guide would speak. This would be the way that they would choose to speak to you. This would be the way that the wording or the verbiage that they would use. It may also be a reflection upon the era that they lived in, or if they're from a different dimension, and how they use you as an instrument. So I really liked the difference in the wording there, because I think it really illustrates the difference in just in the phrasing there, but we're having similar sort of context, really. And again, actually, in the answer, I want to be able to say that in the answer of how long it will last, that the answers were similar too. However, none of you knew what the other person's answer was going to be. And so the reason why I want to be able to just sort of bring that forward is so that we learn to trust this as a tool for ourselves to be able to receive guidance. And that's actually a difficult one to be able to work on, because I know that there's a lot of anxiety around that. But getting that guidance from spirit, I feel, has a lot of healing ability also. I just want to be able to go over before we close that there are different factors that can affect our spiritual work. These can be the phases that the moon are in. Some phases are more suitable to our spiritual work, and other phases are less suitable. Incense has been used since the beginning of time to help with psychic work. Some incenses work better than others, and they really help open up the psychic centers is what it is. It just helps bring through more energy. Some incense that works really well with the psychic centers is one that align with the planet of Mercury. This is for Mercury governs communication and writing. So that would be particularly effective for any sort of automatic writing, or really any sort of mediumship as we're working to be able to communicate with spirit. Any sort of incense that connects with, aligns with the energy of the moon, which governs our psychic work. And so incenses like cedar, rosemary, sandalwood is very, very effective. Probably everyone's familiar with frankincense. That's very effective for psychic work. Cinnamon, honeysuckle is one of my favorites. Lavender and peppermint are all very good for working with psychic work. And these, what they do is that they help make that shift. They help aid in that, making that shift to that altered state. Teas have also been used in ancient times to help with psychic visions or any kind of psychic work. Red clover is excellent. Chamomile, lemongrass, valerian. I don't think I said valerian. Saffron is also very, very effective. And so whenever we are doing our spiritual work, we should always be mindful to ground ourselves. Oh, dandelion is also very good. That helps with spirit contact, dandelion. So dandelion tea. And I want to just bring the awareness that whenever we finish doing any sort of spiritual work, that we should be grounding ourselves and closing down our psychic centers, our chakras. And we do this just with intention. And when we practice to ground, we can visualize all of our energy running back down into the earth. Or just visualize this energy going back to spirit. So just I want to be able to go over that. It's just like any of our other spiritual work, that to be able to ground ourselves when we're done, so that we're not walking around open all the time. Okay. So I just wanted to ask if there was any questions, any comments. I know I've chatted for a fair bit, so some people have had to leave, but are there any questions that you may have regarding automatic writing, or anything that you may want to ask? Go ahead, Gal.
Did you say it was better to use your non-dominant hand, or will it work either way? Because I'm getting results with either hand.
Yeah, it will work either way, and it really is a matter of preference. I know that at various points in time I've used my non-dominant hand, because if I didn't trust what was coming through, if I was working on big stuff, I wanted to use my non-dominant hand because it just made me feel like that I wasn't coming through my conscious mind. Let me just come to that comment there. But so I would just encourage you to see what works well with you. Now, if I do it, I just work with my dominant hand. So someone said that their right arm was hurting. Who said that their arm is that their writing hand? No, it may be hurting because you're feeling some kind of pressure in it. It may have actually gone a little bit numb. Okay, and so it's hurting because the sort of, as you have taken control of it, you may have noticed that it was being held funny, and so perhaps it may have been okay, so, and that was because it was your dominant hand, Stacy, that you're using your dominant hand to write. And I feel it's just that it could have been the pressure or the energy from spirit. It may have also just have been the way that you're holding it. And it may have just been a little bit awkward because we've been doing this for a bit, and it just may have allowed for a little bit of lack of circulation through it. I'm feeling kind of like when you have slept on your arm a little bit funny, and then you get up and it's like, oh, that hurts a little bit. That's what I'm feeling it's related to. And I don't feel that that's something that will continue that you'll continue to experience as you're doing this, because you will feel more comfortable or get more attuned to it. Did anyone have any other questions that they wanted to share? Questions or comments, or was anyone surprised that they were able to get anything? Was anyone surprised? No? Yeah, okay.
I was a little surprised, but
Were
when
you?
we did this in the one class, I did get a bunch of stuff that, I was way more relaxed then, and in the
Good.
class, was that beginner or intermediate class that we did? I can't remember. But
I can't remember. I think it may have been the beginner.
I think it was.
Yeah.
But I had a bigger piece of paper too, so maybe that had something to do with it. I was all over the page with it. But there were words in there. I had to go through it, but I had to find words.
And so what happens with automatic writing sometimes is that it can look a little bit unlegible. Sometimes if you really are not trusting what's coming through, we may want to close our eyes and just let spirit write. I find it's really big and loopy when I do that, but it's okay because you may be able to work with discerning what's coming through, or depending on the level of consciousness that you have, you may have awareness of what the words are coming through as you're writing them. Thank you, Sylvie. And then you'll know oftentimes if your conscious mind has stepped in and you want to write an answer. So let's say you got spirit, you're doing your writing, and then maybe you want to, you think spirit's going to say a particular word, and so you may start writing that word, and then you'll feel like spirit's like, no, I'm not writing that. Nope, that's not what I wanted to say. And it's interesting, but you just have to learn to trust the way that it's flowing. So the difference between our higher self and our spirit guides is that our spirit guides are personalities, and our higher selves is more of that divine consciousness. But we have that ability to be able to use both for guidance. And again, this is a form of mediumship. It's a form of spiritual development. And it's a way to be able to get guidance in your day-to-day life, or for big matters that are occurring. And so that, we all need guidance from time to time, or we all have questions that we want to be able to know the answers to, like, why is this a global event occurring? Like, whatever it may be that's happening, and we have the ability to tap into that. And I guarantee you that if you stick with it, and if you continue to work with automatic writing as a form of receiving from spirit, that you'll be able to actually bring through really big bodies of knowledge. that it will really, it's a wonderful way to allow spirit world to be able to work through us. So I'm going to encourage all of you to continue working with it and just fine tuning it as you go forward. Any other questions or comments at all? Oh, we've lost everyone here as we've gone along, but I just really would like to thank everyone for joining me tonight. I hope that you did enjoy this. I hope that you got something out of it. If anyone wants this recording, I'm happy to send it to them. And I wish you all very many blessings. And again, thank you for joining. And be safe, everyone. Okay, God bless. Bye-bye.